can I assume you all know what Heartbleed is? To start with? Anyone not know what Heartbleed is? Hoping you attended this session because you know what it is. Okay, cool. So in this session, probably should have edited that because they're not all here. But I'm going to do a Heartbleed case study. Pretty much how it affected us on Acquia Cloud, what we had to do. And then I wanted to sort of do an open Q&A at the end. I'm from the cloud engineering team at Acquia, and Phil and Chris are up the back, so we can also hit them with questions at the end, representing ops and support, different facets of how it happened within Acquia. So about me, I am a cloud platform engineer. What that actually means, my job changes every day, so pick a title. Then my handles if you do want to find me. So we'll start off with what happened technology-wise. I need to give a quick shout out to my colleague Mark Seeger. I pretty much stole his whole presentation. He presented at DevOps in Boston. I took it, repurposed it, so thank you, Mark. So how it all started. I'm the only person in my team outside of the US, so I generally work late and obscure hours, so I was sleeping when most of this happened, although it was actually AEU hours that the bulk of it all happened. So my colleague Mark, he noticed a tweet mentioning this thing called Heartbleed, and upon further inspection, the alarm bells started ringing. We have a picture of Ryan Gosling. It's related techie stuff. All right, so email time. Mark sent out an email to our hosting eng group, which is essentially all of the technology people in Acquia. The email change started happening. People were alerted. We started complaining about SSL. That stands for Super Secure Linux, right? So we spent about approximately the first 2 hours doing assessing the attack vector and prioritizing what we needed to upgrade in what order. Our core operating system versions are Ubuntu, Lucid, and Precise. A quick check of those servers revealed we were most definitely vulnerable. Time to find everywhere that SSL is. So assessing 8,000 machines is not that easy. Luckily, our system is fully puppetized. For those who don't know what Puppet is, it's a way of deploying stuff out exactly the same on servers every single time. So it makes it very, very easy. So we really only have a handful of server types that were actually vulnerable. So the candidates that were vulnerable were balancers, which were terminating SSL, SVN servers. Only for SVN, the Git side was fine because SSH wasn't susceptible. And our third-party appliances, namely ELBs.
So I was going to say, weren't most of your, so you were running your own load balancers, you weren't just terminating them on ELBs?
We have both, yep. So we have sort of two configurations. One is where you don't need an ELB and you can have what we call active and passive balancers. So we attach an ERP to one. If it fails, we'll switch the ERP over to the other one. So then we'll terminate SSL on both, exactly the same certificate. ELBs obviously also terminates certificates, so it's just another, and we run the balancers in active behind ELBs, so traffic routes to both. We don't have that failover situation. It's better for scalability.
So for ELBs, it's Amazon that controls all the SSL magic. They just give them the certificate. Is that how it works?
That's correct.
Yeah. But you had to wait for the MSC to fix it before ELBs.
Well, we say wait. I'd like to say pester, coerce. So let's have a look at the stack. So this is primarily our stack. I've sort of obfuscated a bunch of it, but essentially this is our balancer here, and that is where we were vulnerable the most. So that is Nginx on our balancers, and it has OpenSSL compiled into the binary. as we mentioned, ELB is also an attack vector. So we opened up a ticket with AWS and got them to patch our servers, and we tested every single one of them. At this point, support questions started arriving. There was some good ones. Yep. Let the patching begin. So luckily, this is not the first time we've upgraded Nginx. We already custom compile Nginx. So updating the OpenSSL version was literally as simple as changing the version number in our build script and recompiling the binary. So we did that. We tested it on our local dev. Then we tested it on internal stuff like Acquia.com. And we sort of went from there. This is one of my favorite slides from Mark's presentation. So the timing of the press release surrounding Heartbleed meant that when the time came to roll out the new release, our Australian staff were on the hook. Phil, at the back, was one of the main drivers of the rollout. From Acquia's perspective, this was actually a good thing, as it meant that the majority of our customers were actually offline and were oblivious to the issue, hence allowing us to get ahead of the problem. Good and bad. Depends who's asking. So, time to upgrade all the things. So as it was, so just like from a technical perspective, so we're upgrading Nginx here. We didn't do ERP failover. So like we upgraded all of our passives first because they weren't, well, the ones that weren't in active and were the passive, we just went ahead and upgraded them because there was no traffic on them. When it came time to actually upgrading the active ones, we did them one at a time, but we did not fail over the ERP. The reason, because failing over an ERP can take about 3 minutes. Upgrading Nginx using a package, it upgrades it, and then we literally just restart Nginx, which takes about 2 seconds. So 3 minutes failover, 3 minutes failback, 6 minutes downtime, 2 seconds downtime. So it really made sense for us to just upgrade the package. We'd already tested it, about 100 times that it works. So we knew that it worked. So that was a really big win for Linux package management. Rollout, so some stats, a couple of stats. We kind of figured this out. I think it's around about right. The rollout across the entire platform took approximately 4 hours. So that's about 800 balances that we had to upgrade. And so in each cluster of balances, we had to do one at a time. We didn't just throw it out, but I think we ran at about a concurrency of 100 with Puppet, which is pretty high. Luckily, because the upgrade was actually pretty small, it was literally just the package update, so the Puppet run was really quick. It didn't take a lot of effort and processing power to actually do it. Normally we don't run that high a concurrency, but we wanted to get this thing out really quick and we knew it wasn't much of a performance hit. So then we scanned sites, every single one by hand. So our support staff literally went through and verified everything that was terminated with SSL. And we made sure that it was hardened against Heartbleed, which was, that website made it very easy, which was lucky. We were also waiting on the ELBs and waiting, and then they were finished. And then we had to go through the process of regenerating all the certificates. So now the platform was patched, so the rekeying began. Since there's really no good way to know what sites might have been compromised, we had to assume that everything was. So we rekeyed every single SSL cert we have. We also took the opportunity to rekey all of our UCC certificates that we manage for customers. So we just did that, pushed it out. That was just part of the process. It had to be done.
So did you have to do that though? Were you sure that after you patched it, was it possible for someone to have taken some malicious use to the previous certificate to be able to get in after you patched it?
So if you wanted to say something.
I was going to say, the nature of Heartbleed meant any time in the previous 18 months? Or
Something like that.
Or could have been compromised before it was publicised. So, about 18 months of potentially your private key already been exposed and used.
I mean, and it's not just a private key. The vector meant that they could literally read, it was like read the buffer in OpenSSL of, it's the way they reuse connections. So like once you've authenticated once, it reuses a connection and it keeps all of that information in the buffer. And literally it was like they're only meant to read X amount of bytes and that value was like way over. So you could read more than you were meant to out of the buffer, which could have been any data. It could have literally been passwords or, it could have been anything. Yeah, so it was really, really, really bad. It was.
Sure, but that was prior to when you patched it, right? So after you patched it, I'm just curious as to, could you have not regenerated certificates because now you've patched it and you're not able to do that anymore?
Yeah, but they might have got the private key from the certificate. Yes, sorry. Yep. So we had to, rekey them to be absolutely certain that. So luckily that was pretty good for us. All of our certificates are with Digicert. They made it. They were very responsive in doing this. I don't know if they had a heads up and had extra staff on or something because they were an SSL vendor. As part of the release, there were a bunch of vendors who knew about this before it actually got publicized. So some companies got out ahead of it. The whole who got alerted was a point of contention. But yeah, it was what it was. So then suddenly at this point, reverse Heartbleed, no more problem. So now I'm going to move on to the second point, the second act, which was our communication, which also played a huge role. So for our communication, we have predetermined chat rooms for what we call SEV outages. So essentially when there's bad stuff, we know exactly where to congregate. We set up dial-in conference bridges when we need to talk things out, and we have a communication plan. A lot of this has come about because we are working towards compliance for a lot of different things, FedRAMP, PCI, SSA 16, all of those things. So during this also, support us sending out mass communication, Twitter updates, statusacquia.com. So really the thing is we all knew exactly where we needed to go when we have a major incident, and in this case it was exactly where we all went. So yeah, there's some of the updates we had. We also published a doc on our doc site because we rekeyed all our internal and UCC certs, but a lot of customers have their own certs, so they need to do it themselves. So we published a document on how to do that because it's kind of critical. We also did proactive communication. So we opened tickets in our system for every customer that uses SSL cert that was not already patched via our UCC cert. We asked all of these customers to rekey their certificates and provided documentation about how to do it, as well as developing new self-service tools to do it in an easy way. So previous to this incident, it was pretty much a manual process with support to actually have to rekey it. So we sort of emergency did some stuff so that customers can do it themselves. Since then, we've had postmortem. What have we learned? How can we improve? So we've now adopted the incident commander, shamelessly stolen from Heroku. So we've learnt that having a single person in charge of assigning and delegating tasks is the most effective way to manage the incident. The incident commander does not actually do any troubleshooting or direct customer communication. Their job is to follow the incident response plan and make sure team members all have assigned tasks and that they are not all stepping on each other's toes. Effectively, they're making sure that the team is all working effectively toward a common goal. Other things, dedicated resource to vet security threats. Definitely, anything you see, we get encouraged to send emails to our internal teams to vet them, check them, see what we need to do. This wasn't necessarily a problem that we had as the incident was dealt with in a timely manner, but it was something that we decided we should formalize. Security matters, and it's everybody's job to be on the lookout for vulnerabilities. We also cleaned up our intranet docs. And we also built a lot of additional tooling to help. Self-service rekeying was one. And I'm getting towards the end now. Shameless plug, we are hiring if anyone wants to work on these hard problems. And that's pretty much it. So I kind of wanted to open up into a Q&A if anyone had any questions. Got plenty of time left.
Just back to the Nginx recompiling there.
Yep.
I would have thought Nginx would have just been linking into the shared SSL libraries, or for some reason compiling
Uh,
that run into.
we compile it into Nginx because it guarantees that we're running the same version of SSL in all of our Nginx versions. Yeah.
Yeah, in most cases found just restarting your services and linked into the shared SSL.
Sure.
And less open.
Yeah.
There is a problem with that because the Linux kernel caches libraries and stuff that's in use. So we previously had, like, a couple of years ago, there was a problem with OpenSSH. And it wasn't enough to simply upgrade the package. We had to reboot the server because the library was basically always in use. We updated it on disk, but the cache was still in like the kernel's library cache. So we had to reboot the machine.
So whenever we patch, we run the demo so that grabbing on the Dell.
Oh, yeah.
To reboot libraries like the in open.
Yep.
Cool.
So how did the, just a little bit of context, who actually discovered the Heartbleed flaw?
No one really knows.
Not. Hold on. Let me. Yeah, it was. There was a. I'm trying to remember. It was an SSL company and one guy from Google. There's a lot of information on.
That is when it became public.
Yeah.
It's-
I need to stop.
It was the first one.
So what was that?
They got told about a week.
I know, and that was one of the big contentious issues. It's like, why should they be told and not everyone else?
Don't necessarily just tell everyone.
I mean, I agree that it was better that they got ahead of it and patched SSL, so when they did make the release, there was a very quick path for everyone to do it, but who gets told? You know, it's
Is not informed.
apparently not enough.
That's a problem for any security issue across any platform is when someone finds that you are legally not permitted or you get into a lot of trouble if you were just to simply release the problem, like a bug in someone else's code. Like you have a responsibility to tell the author and tell the the key people that there is a problem before you publicly disclose it, to give them an opportunity to fix the problem and to actually prepare themselves for when you get thousands of people saying, I need to rekey my certificate. So I believe that's why a lot of SSL authorities within, or a lot of CAs were notified first, so they can prepare themselves for the onslaught of people who just need to rekey.
Yeah.
Another one. A lot of this talk has been about like customer-facing components,
Yep.
which is good. Being an ops guy myself, one of the things other ops people I spoke to were very surprised about sometime after Heartbleed was the client-side app vulnerability of Heartbleed, such as VPN software, which actually have embedded
Mhm.
vulnerable OpenSSL, and then we had to sort of rekey everyone's VPN certificates, which was a real nightmare to sort of transmit securely and so on.
Yep.
Did Acquia have sort of internal challenges like that, or were you lucky in that sense?
We were lucky in that instance. I don't know how much I'm allowed to go into this, so I'm trying to. We run I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say what VPN service we run because it's probably in our sales stuff.
Not sure, don't say.
Yeah, it's essentially they weren't running the OpenSSL version that was compromised, so they were lucky. And the version that we're running was susceptible to the Beast and Crime, but it was like it's fenced off, so there was no risk of a. Yeah.
You rekey all your puppet agents.
Yep. We developed a tool to literally do that, like rekey everything.
It's also worth mentioning Cloudflare had a custom compiled Nginx as well. And
Yep.
they weren't actually sure whether they were susceptible. Put a demo site and said, hey, anyone, get the private key. And they said, do it. And it worked here.
Yeah.
And 3 hours later,
Well, there was a bounty for it, wasn't there?
I don't think there was. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
still fun. And 3 hours later, someone did it, and then independently, 3 other people did it the next few hours.
Yeah.
So it's certainly exploitable.
That was scary.
It was, very, very scary.
I've got my nose back from the bag.
Yeah. Cool.